Good afternoon. This is Mr. Highfield of the PE department, and today's lesson has been filmed in front of a live studio audience. Solomon!
Good to see you guys. Happy Wacky Tacky Wednesday. For you guys doing Launch Ed, I do have a class in here in the room, and it is Wacky Tacky Wednesday here at school, hence the crazy outfit that I'm wearing. Whee! But by the time you're viewing this video, it's not really Wacky Tacky Wednesday. It may not even be on a Wednesday itself, but just know the reason why I have beautiful hair and beautiful shirt and shorts that totally match is because it is Wacky Tacky Wednesday. Earlier in the week, we had the equation for a healthy body. So in our last lesson, we realized that the equation for a healthy body consists of three pieces. Exercise, which we talked about, eating healthy, which we talked a lot about last lesson, and the third piece is don't do drugs. We didn't really talk too much about that because we were addressing the other two. But in today's lesson, I want to really talk about not doing drugs, and let's explore and talk a little bit more about that puzzle piece so that as we move forward, like I said, in middle school and high school and college and in adulthood, you know it's not too hard to have a healthy body if you're doing all three of these. And it takes all three. It takes all three of them to have this healthy body. So here's the thing with drugs. Today's conversation is geared towards your illegal drugs. I know that some of you might think, well, hey, what about medicine? What about, and there are good drugs and there are bad drugs. The good drugs are when you are sick and you have to go to the doctor's office and the doctor says, wow, you're not feeling good. Let me prescribe this medicine to you. This drug to you. And you take it while you're sick, and then when you're done being sick, you don't take that medicine anymore. So the doctor's prescription of that medicine, of that drug, helped you get better. That's really not what we're going to be talking about when we're addressing the third piece of the puzzle here. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about illegal drugs that affect the inside of your body in a negative way. So some of these drugs, or in fact most of these drugs, are very addicting. So when you take these drugs, it's very hard for you to say no, that you want to stop doing it because you're addicted to it. They have certain chemicals in them that your body's like, oh, I got to keep having this. I got to keep having this. So you continue to take it. The whole time you're taking it, different drugs have different effects to your body. But your organs inside your body that you need to operate together and you need to operate successfully, it's harder for them to work when you're taking drugs. Some drugs are going to affect your heart. Some drugs will affect your lungs. And your water bottle keeps making this click, 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 click. I don't know if you're aware, but it's really annoying. Please stop. So some of these drugs will affect your lungs. Some of these drugs will affect your heart. Some of them will affect the way that you think. So the drugs that we're going to talk about, the illegal drugs, they're damaging to your body. Therefore, you can't do drugs and have a healthy body. There's just no way. There's no way that doing drugs can fit into a healthy body equation. So that's why it's the third piece of the puzzle. And then we're going to explore that a little bit more today. Now, why do illegal drugs exist? How do they get here? Well, the reason why is because these people that sell make a lot of money. So whenever money's involved, it's very hard to get rid of something. Unfortunately, we've had, our government has tried to get rid of illegal drugs. And they've tried to stop them from coming into our country. And it's just very difficult to do that. So that's unfortunate. Some drugs are illegal for you, but when you get to a certain age, they become legal for that age group. It does not mean that it's good for that age group to take it. It's still affecting the body in a negative way, but it's not against the law for somebody. Two examples of that are when you're 18, it's not illegal to smoke a cigarette anymore, but it doesn't mean that it's healthy. And then when you turn 21, you're allowed to drink alcohol. It doesn't mean that, okay, now it's 21, I can drink alcohol and it's not going to affect the way I think. That doesn't happen. So it still affects your body in a negative way. So be cautious as you guys are growing up. I know a few more years you guys are going to be in middle school and then high school. And sometimes you're going to have to tell friends, no, I do not do drugs. And be strong about it. Have a good feeling about your health and know that when somebody, no matter who it is, asks you to do this, you're going to have the strength to say, no way. It was real easy for me. A lot of kids think, well, wait, hold on, Mr. Woolman. What if they hold a knife to you and say, take this drug? What if they have a gun and say, take this drug? What if they're holding you down and shoving the drug in your mouth? That doesn't really happen. Maybe in the movies, I don't know. But I've never heard of a real life story of that actually happening. When I was in high school, unfortunately, I was asked to do drugs. But I'm happy to report that I've never, ever even tried to do illegal drugs. I've never even tasted alcohol before. So I hope that when you guys are my age, you can say the same thing. Many people don't, because a lot of people do the alcohol. They drink alcohol when they turn 21. It's not against the law. But I never have, and I've never attempted to do any kind of drug besides the medicine that the doctor prescribed to me. And I'm proud of that. That makes me feel good that I can say that. I'm an adult and I can say that I've never done drugs before. So I hope that you guys can say the same thing to your kids when you guys are moms and dads. So be proud of that. And again, if you're not doing, that's a big piece of the puzzle to having a healthy body. There's no way you can do exercise and eat healthy, but if you're doing drugs, still have a healthy body. No, it doesn't work out that way. So, you guys, you are going to be asked to do drugs. And it's up to you to say no to these people asking you to do drugs. For me, it was easy. I played sports. I think most people know. I was a baseball player. So when people in high school and college came up to me and said, hey, do you want to try any of this? No way. I play sports. I can't do that. And they would say, okay, bye. And they would go off and look for somebody else to get to do the drug. So yeah, it was not really that hard. Yeah, I went to parties in college, and there was people that were over 21 and they were drinking alcohol, and they would come up to me, hey, here, have a beer. No, thank you, I don't drink. What? Oh, yeah, I've never had an alcoholic beverage. Really? Wow. Okay, wow. So you just have to say no. It's really that easy. And if you have a friend that's like, here, try this, here, you should do this, here, come on. Or if they're saying stuff like, I won't be your friend if you don't take this, you may have to say, oh, well, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. Because I don't believe in doing that. I value my health more than your friendship. You know, if there's a person saying you have to do this or I'm not going to be your friend, they're not really your friend. So they're not really your friend at all if they're saying that. Yes.
Also, but if you're an adult, is wine good for your heart?
Some doctors will say 1 glass will help your heart of wine, but not 50 glasses. So some, and it's.
Talk to my mom then.
I believe it's more of the grape juice the grapes in the wine than anything. So you will have the same effects if you drink 1 glass of grape juice every night instead of 1 glass of wine. So it's the same thing. I don't need to hear your mom's stories. Yes.
So like a friend, like ask you something that you don't want, and they just like ask you, they keep saying
You just keep saying no. Yep.
I just leave.
Yeah. There's, you know what? There was, Carson, thank you for saying that. Because in college, there were some parties that I went to, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of people at this party. And I walked in, and when I walked into the party, I saw people smoking a drug called marijuana. And when I immediately saw that, I was like, you know what? I told the friends that I came to the party with, I was like, I don't know if you guys are staying, but I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else because I don't want to be associated with this kind of party. And, you know, if they get in trouble, everybody in the house is going to get in trouble, whether you're doing it or not. So I knew that I had to leave, and I didn't stay at that party. So that was a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Hey, let's not only talk about the fact that it's terrible for your health. Let's talk about the money, because drugs are not free. When you're taking these drugs, they cost money. Once the person gets you addicted to that drug, they know you're going to keep on spending money all the time with them. And, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. Every time you're doing this, you're giving them money, and it adds up. And it can be expensive, very expensive to do these drugs. Tell them about that, Mr. Highfield.
Sorry, I was taking notes for the second graders.
Oh, yeah.
What was the topic?
Your money, the money issue.
That's right. So, when it comes to spending money on cigarettes, how much do you think a pack of cigarettes costs?
I know.
$2? No. Another guess.
$69.
For 1 pack of cigarettes?
Yeah.
They don't know, Mr. Highfield. That's
So-
the thing. They've never bought cigarettes.
So a pack of cigarettes is normally around $6 or $7 for each pack of cigarettes. Many people that smoke often will smoke 1 pack a day. I know when my father was alive, he used to smoke 3 packs a day. Crazy. So if you take 1 pack of cigarettes a day, and you have 1 pack every day, which is 365 days, because you don't stop on the weekends, and you're still smoking on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day and all the holidays. So you spend easily over $2,000 a year on cigarettes. Also, your healthcare costs are typically more expensive as well. So that's easily another $1,000 in increased healthcare premium. So now you're at well over $3,000 a year on cigarettes and the cost of cigarettes. And that's before you talk about bad health problems and so on. That comes when you comes down the road. So what would you rather do if you had $3,000 a year to spend on a vacation, maybe on new TVs, new iPhones, That's a lot of money that can be spent.
Welcome to the game show of the year. Your host, Mr. Wilmot. In door number 1, we have a vacation of a lifetime. You and your family can go on a new cruise to the destination of your choice. Door number 2 is a big screen TV, even bigger than this. And along with it comes Disney Plus, Hulu, and all the channels that you want. And then door number 3, get prepared for this, ladies and gentlemen. And door number 3, for the same price as door number 1 and door number 2, you can have poor health, bad skin, stinky breath, yucky teeth, bad coughing all the time,
Cigarettes.
and what else?
And you miss out on things.
What door do you want? Who would want door number 3? No one, right? No one. But the sad thing is, people do choose door number 3. So they choose that door number 3, and they're missing out on. They can't afford a family vacation, or they can't afford a big screen TV. So they're missing out on those things, unfortunately. Let me see what time it is. Or actually,
10:49.
yep, boom. So we got 10 minutes. I just wanted to talk about some common drugs you might hear, or you hear people talk about or see on TV. As we briefly talked about cigarettes. Back in the day, they didn't know cigarettes were bad for you. That's why a lot of older people smoke, because it was a social thing. But now in 2020, we know cigarettes are terrible for your health, terrible for your skin, terrible for your lungs. And we know that the health is terrible when you smoke. So cigarettes, now we should know. Older people, when they were smoking, they didn't know that cigarettes were bad, but now we do. So cigarettes have tobacco in them, but the drug that they have is called nicotine. Nicotine makes it addicting. So it's very hard for somebody that's smoking cigarettes to basically quit. It's very difficult for somebody that's already started to quit doing that. So, and again, once you start, then you want to smoke more, and then cha-ching, 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 throw that money away. It's terrible. But I learned this, that cigarettes have many chemicals in them besides the nicotine and tobacco. They have chemicals in them, and one of them is the same chemical that is used in rat poisoning. Ew. Can you imagine people putting rat poisoning in their mouth? Ew, that's disgusting. Nasty. I know. So cigarettes, no matter how old you are terrible for your health. And on the cigarette package, if you read it, at the bottom it says, General Attorney warning. This product will cause lung cancer. Hello? Why are you spending money to get lung cancer? Oh my goodness. Why do people do that? So, man. So cigarettes, don't even attempt to try cigarettes. It's gross. And then even breathing in that secondhand smoke is bad for your lungs.
You don't blow it out.
We, years ago, I did a health lesson from the hospital, and they had pig lungs. And they pulled out of a cooler a pig lung that was nice and fresh and healthy, and it was pink, a little bit of red. Kind of like when you go into the grocery store and you look at, let's just say a steak. You know how it's nice and red and, it looks, good. That's what the inside of your organ, that's what the inside of your body looks like. Those organs that you have should be red and pink. And then they pulled out a pig lung that pig had been associated with somebody that smoked. So it was around a cigarette smoker all the time. And they pulled out this lung, and it was black and almost like it reminded me of a steak that had been cooked way too long. And if you put a steak on the grill and it turns really black and crusty. Can you imagine? How can your lung work properly if it's charcoal like that? If it's black, it looked terrible. That was a good health lesson. I wish we could do something like that again. But my point is, keep your lungs pink and healthy by not being around cigarette smoke. A couple of years ago, they came up with this thing called vaping, and they thought, vaping's better than cigarette smoking. Because they would put in like this little, it looked like a USB tube, and you put it in your mouth, and then you just blow out water vapor.
Yeah, my mom and
But
dad
it still has chemicals in it, still has nicotine, still has those bad chemicals. They thought, it's better than cigarette smoke, so just start doing this. Now they have learned that it's worse than cigarette smoking. So definitely don't do vaping either. So the other thing that is illegal in some states is a drug called marijuana. You might hear that. It's got marijuana leaves. It's kind of wrapped very similar to a cigarette. People smoke it. The problem with this drug is it slows down your thought process. So if it kind of slows everything down, certainly you can't make normal decisions if you are under the influence of any kind of drug. So you just can't think properly. It won't work. So be cautious of that too. And again, money, spending money here, spending money there on that kind of, any kind of drug. Hold on, guys. One of the other drugs that is legal for adults when you turn 21, alcohol. So it's just one of those things that's illegal for you guys to drink, but for adults it's not. It also affects your thought process. Have you ever, raise your hand if you've seen somebody that has been what they consider drunk. Somebody that has too much alcohol is what they call drunk. And the way they act and the way that they talk and the way that they behave is not, and in fact, far from the way they would behave in a normal situation. So many times it's embarrassing, and it just it's not normal. So a lot of times people overuse the drug alcohol. They overuse that, and then they become drunk, and you can't think properly. You're doing things that you wouldn't normally do. That's why if you become an adult and you choose to take that drug, you choose to drink alcohol, you should do it in a situation where you're not having to drive, not having to walk down the street. You can't walk down the street and not think properly. You walk into the street and the car's coming. That's dangerous. So I went to parties with my friends, and again, I've never had alcohol in my life, but my friends would say, "Hey, I'm going to drink tonight, but I'm going to spend the night at this location. Here's my keys. Take them from me, and under no circumstances do you give me my keys back." So they weren't tempted to try to drive their car when they were drinking alcohol. Drinking and driving can kill people. Again, you can't see clearly. You can't think properly. So never, ever, ever put yourself in that circumstance. There's also a drug called cocaine. It's a white substance that they put on something and they put up their nose. They sniff it. Disgusting, right? Look, I don't even want boogers in my nose. Why am I putting that in my nose? Disgusting. That's totally gross. And the problem with that drug is that drug speeds up your organs in your body. There's a story of a boy, he tried that drug once. His heart was beating so fast that he ended up having a heart attack. On the very first night of him trying that drug, he had a heart attack and he died. I mean, think of how your mom or your dad would act if you weren't here. If you made that kind of mistake. So everybody's going to make mistakes in their life, but don't make a mistake like this where you take a drug and you affect either other people or you affect yourself in a way that you can't take back. You know, maybe somebody dies or maybe you die, or, you know, don't put yourself in those situations. But the thing is, surround yourself, as you grow up, surround yourself with people that think similar to you. They know these 3 ways to keep a healthy body, and they know they're not going to do drugs either because they want a healthy body. And it is easier for you to being surrounded by people that are similar. They're not going to ask you for drugs because they're not going to do drugs either. You know, sometimes I had to say goodbye to a certain, couple of my friends because they went down that path of doing drugs. And I was like, I'm not going down that path. And I had to say goodbye to them. So that's choices that you have to make in order to keep a healthy body. I do have a couple questions. Yes?
How old was that boy when he drank the drug?
I didn't personally know him, so I don't know. Yes? What's a heart attack? A heart attack is when your heart's beating so fast, or blood can't travel to your heart properly, so your heart basically your heart will stop beating. In this case, the drug was making his heart beat so fast that it was like working over. It was in overload mode, so it was tough. Yes.
If you drink drugs, you're also not allowed to drive.
Exactly. Yeah. So for somebody that's old enough to drink alcohol and it's not against the law, they're not going to get arrested because they're drinking alcohol if they're old enough. However, if they get into a car and they drive under the influence and they've been drinking, you're right. It is against the law. So they have to have what they call a designated driver. Somebody driving the car that has not been drinking that alcohol. Yes?
Also, one time on Netflix, I was watching a video with my dad and my brother, and then there's this guy that was in jail that he was out drinking with his friends, and then he was acting up so much that he killed 2 women.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can't think properly. Your decision making. Time out. Close your eyes and think of something that you will, no matter what, you will never, ever, ever do.
Never hold a gun.
So, you don't need to yell out. You don't need to yell anything out. Just think of something that you will never do, no matter what. Now, the problem is, even though you're telling yourself right now that you will never do that, some people that take drugs, they take these drugs, it affects their thinking process. And that same thing that right now you're telling yourself you'll never do, you could do if you were under an influence. Your body wouldn't tell you to stop. So you would do that. So yes, you make mistakes that affect the lives of other people and affect yourself. Last one, Teddy.
And also, what about pot and weed?
Pot and weed are the same the same thing as what we talked about marijuana. All 3 are the same thing, the same product. So yes, you probably have heard those terms, pot, weed, but it is nicknames for marijuana. Yes. Please go home, talk to mom and dad, about this subject. Sometimes you talk to mom and dad and you can get different opinions and different points of views on certain things. So I really encourage you to talk to mom and dad, get their take on this subject, and the more adults that you talk about, hopefully as you grow up, you can choose the right path, and hopefully a path that's successful and a path that will make your body healthy.